All right, so I want to tell you guys about one of my worst hangover experiences ever. The memory of it is just burned in my brain, so I figured I would share it with you all. So I used to work at this retreat center that was a very remote location. There was one way in and one way out, and you had to cross this bridge in order to get to work. Well, one year we had a bunch of rain where I live, and it actually caused the bridge to collapse. So there was a period of time where in order to get to work, I had to hike around this fallen bridge while it was being repaired. So what that would look like is I would drive my car, park it, hike around the bridge, and then take a shuttle from my work where they would take us the other 20 minutes into the office. So I wake up one morning after a night of very heavy drinking, and I'm really surprised by how good I feel. I'm like, I should really feel worse than I do, but I feel pretty good. I'll get ready for work. But I know looking back, it was one of those hangovers where you wake up and you're still drunk, and so you don't really realize how sick you feel until it hits you later. So I get ready for work, I drive in, I park my car, and I'm getting ready to do this hike around the bridge, again, like a 20-minute hike, and I would usually do it with colleagues. We'd meet up and we'd hike in together. So we start hiking, and all of a sudden the hangover starts to hit me. I'm starting to get the sweaty palms, the throbbing headache, the queasiness, the heart palpitations, and I'm like, oh no, I'm starting to feel worse. I guess I'm more hungover than I thought. But we keep hiking, and I just noticed that I'm getting more and more queasy to where I'm like, oh crap, like I think I'm gonna throw up. And I'm trying so hard to hold it back because I've been hungover at work before, but I could usually run into the bathroom and be discreet about it and throw up and nobody would know. But in this case, I was so sick, and I was in front of all of my colleagues, and I'm just trying so hard to hold it back. But I'm thinking, oh no, we still have that shuttle ride that's going to be a 20-minute windy road into the office. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know why I didn't turn around and tell them I was feeling sick, but when you're hungover, you're not really thinking very clearly. So we continue to walk, and I'm just getting sicker and sicker. I'm like, that's it. I know I'm going to puke, but I was trying so hard to hold it back. I was like, oh my gosh, don't throw up. I ended up projectile vomiting. It totally caught me off guard because my body just couldn't hold it in anymore. And I ended up puking on top of one of my colleagues' jacket, and they turn around and they're like, oh my gosh, are you okay? I am mortified and so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. It must be food poisoning or something. And I'm surrounded by my colleagues and nobody knows what to do. They're like, are you okay? Like, what do you want us to do? And I'm just like, blah, blah, like projectile vomiting on this trail. I'm so glad I can laugh at it now, but it was one of the most miserable experiences. Anyway, we keep hiking in. I'm like, oh no, like, am I going to throw up on the shuttle too? End up riding the shuttle into work. Thank God I didn't throw up on that for whatever reason, but I get to work and I just feel terrible. Like, the hangover is at its peak. I was feeling so sick. And you know when you're super hungover where all you're doing is like calculating how far away you are from when it is that you can be at home in bed. I don't know if anyone else would do that, but I would do that. And I knew that I was still a 20-minute windy road back to the hiking trail, that I would still have to hike that 20-minute trail and drive another 20-30 minutes in my car back home. I was like so far away from home, and I felt so sick. It was the longest day ever. But I do remember thinking, oh, I've passed it off as food poisoning. They think I've just caught something and everything's good. But as I started to advocate more and talk more about my alcohol addiction, one of my colleagues who was with me on the hike that day comes up to me one day and she's like, oh yeah, like, I wondered if you had a drinking problem because I could smell alcohol on you that day you were sick on the trail, and I smelled it a few other times. And so even though I thought I was being secretive and clever and that people didn't know I had a drinking problem, people knew.